All right, I'm pretty sure this title will grab your attention. This is more regards on how you're gonna raise the family into different ways, right? Now, obviously, myself, I'm locally born in Australia, so it's either you go for that way or you go downgrade to the basics. Now, it's just gonna be a lot to unfold where I haven't even thought through clearly, but I'm ready to make the video. So, when I mean by evolve, okay, so let's just say your parents the first generation, yourself second. You saw the hardship, what your parents did. You do something better. You go to university, you get the degree, you get the job. And it's either that generation or the next generation to be evolve upper class. All right. When I mean by upper class, this is where is being we're driven to the expectation because you wanted to live better than what your parents did, right? Whether your parents has work in a low skill job or owning their family business versus those who our generation or the second generation or the third one is to get a degree and get a job and work that or to become an upper class to be rebellion to go against with what you've been brought up with through hardship and through trauma experience with the family due to communication. I get to see my mentors with his partners and their peers, which I get to see, different side compared to um, where I'm surrounded in the northern suburbs in Melbourne. It's very, very, very dysfunctional. Where if I think clearly, it's about it. Hipsters, trendy, is or yappy, whatever you name this subculture. There's good and bad, right? They don't like chemicals. They care about climate change. Um, a lot more a lot more political and a local sphere. Um, whether they get on the bike, the way how they dress, they eat. And one thing I don't understand them is that the way how they communicate, it's very, very. I don't know what to say. And even the music choices. And when you live in that sort of environment, and when you wanted to involve in that sort of environment, I don't see any moving forward unless if your family is rich and sustain that sort of lifestyle. I see there's a lot more coffee, organic, just a lot more different handcraft and X, Y, and Z. You see, when you focus on that area, which I'm nothing against them, if you focus on that much area and you raise your family in that sort of area, it's sort of living in a lunatic or fancy world, right? But at the end of the day, money talks. Whether they shared accommodation in the house with the same people, same like-minded people in the same household to live like that sort of lifestyle. Mm, I just there's so much sensitivity to even discuss about that topic. Or you versus the downgrade to the basics, where you can live that sort of lifestyle, whereas the popular trend is growing in Melbourne, or you can have a normal one, you married to, or you be with the one locally Australian born, or this one is you get to see many of them who are dating foreign or married to uh, a foreign culture. All right, and basically is down to the basics, and it means that when you marry to someone who doesn't have a permanent residency or get into someone and you build that lifestyle up rooted to go all the way up, it has more clear sense of collectivism in comparison to the one that I explained earlier, the involvement of the hipster, trendy, um, individualism is too strong, and as well those who are married from Australians to Australia to involve with that sort of strong with the individualism. And when I was looking into the individualism as the nuclear family on that sort of structure, in comparison back to basics, extended family with down to the basics and the physical needs. A sponsor family to come to Australia one by one. Your wealth is perished. The wealth is within the family. The other one is where you live the hipster trendy as well with Australia is you live as individualism and as well. It's not a very strong connection. There's a lots of connection, communication, and it's all regards to the money for themselves, whether they wanted to get X, Y, and Z, or making bad choices, or going multiple holidays. For me to even look at this, I've chosen the path to the downgraded to the basics, to be with the partner who's coming from the foreign and mixing the culture and the race in a way that it's very, very to the basic. It's very popular to many of the guys who find a potential partner, as we can see nowadays, and to start a family immediately to straighten our mind. And I get to see including myself, that I've straightened my mind a lot. And I've got involved out of that dysfunctionality. On the bigger picture is you choosing and you're going a lot more of the vanity lifestyle when you're at that level, because you want to outcompete what your family, the status quo, the whole issue with trying to be upper class in a also sense of forever of the whole trendy and also hipster, the way how they talk and everything. And when you try to achieve that goal in the long term, it's not achievable. In the short term, yes, it's a fantasy. I'm not saying all of them is like that, but I'm trying to make it clear as I can as I'm discussing it through. I have to shut my eyes to even think carefully about it. Is that you have a choice to run a family, to stay in the family, with extended family, or perhaps you and your partner and a child, a little nuclear circle, or the old traditional family, old nuclear family structure where I'm surrounded by extended family, with extended family ideas, power, collectivism. Because myself, actually, Chinese is actually more of living the upper class, wanting to live in that sort of way, to try to outcompete, try to marry the best of the best, or stay the best of the best, eat the best of the best, live the best of the best. But how long can you live in that sort of lifestyle? But even if you do raise your kids, whether if you're a trendy hipster or perhaps with the culture that I mentioned to you, there is it's got to lead up to spoiling the child to be upraised. I've been working with clients who lives in a very family lives in a very top notch suburbans in Melbourne, with a top notch profession, but raising the kids into that level, that's a forever burden, you know. Or you raise your kid, downgrade yourself, and live harmoniously, collectivismly, and live have a child to be raised in the village. That's the word that I wanted to explain. And this is the lifestyle that many Muslims who live like this in the Western world. And when I get to see that, it's a lot more functionality instead of dysfunctional. Because if you think about dysfunctional, you get to see a lot. Obviously, there's downside of my one. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but what I get to see with when you involve and you break down your family communication with your elders or whatever, you tend to think to your own, you and your partner or you and your wife, and things go hey ho, and there's not much support because you're in your own individualism world, your own choices. There's no punishment. You get divorced tomorrow, break up tomorrow. There's no consequence tomorrow because you lost communication as much. And we live in a culture nowadays divorcing 2, 3, 4 times. So you get to hear that so often nowadays. It's a lot. And I understand, divorce, it is, what happened, it is. It's becoming a survival game and, towards the end. But what I'm not saying that my relationship wouldn't get to there, but what I'm saying is that it's a lot more less percentage. But unless if I give up this whole family money problem, this wealth. So for me to look at it dysfunctionally or perhaps functionally, there's good and bad to look at it. But we get to see the both sides and what we see in the public sphere, where lots of men would rather marry to the category that I'm in, because they find the motherly, naturally, submissively potential woman or perhaps a husband for those who want to get in there and back to basic needs instead of the other needs. So that's the video that I'm looking at it now, and obviously now that I'm living that sort of lifestyle, I can see the happiness. So yeah, so now my nephew just returned back home, and I gotta end the video.